So now let's talk about pressure points. Some of you might remember in one of my previous videos I was talking about how my custom front lacing corset was actually causing pressure points in the back of my ribs right here, and so I actually had to lace it an inch looser so that I could still maintain whatever waist training I had already accomplished until my new corset came in, and then I stopped wearing it completely. Pressure points happen when your corset is not following the curves of your body very well or as perfectly as it needs to, and it causes more pressure on some parts than others. And people who bruise easily might actually find that these pressure points will cause bruises, especially around the ribs or the hips where it's a bony area. You can take care of these pressure points by loosening your corset or just taking it off completely. Some really hardcore people who really want to corset train, even while their skin is healing, they might put a dressing on it or something soft between their skin and the corset so that they can keep training but not have so much pressure in that one sensitive area. But I wouldn't recommend that. I would just take off the corset and wait until it's fully healed. If you just bought a custom fit corset and after you break it in for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long you need to do it, it's causing you pressure points still, or it still feels really tough, take it back to the corsetier and have it refitted, because it's possible that there's one part of the corset that's not fitting you as well as it should. One thing that you don't want to do is ignore your pressure points, because what can happen is the same thing that happens with bedridden patients who have bed sores. When you don't take care of those, then the constant pressure will actually cause ulcers in the skin, and the skin can actually become necrotic underneath. That's when the flesh actually starts dying and breaking down. So really, you don't want to do that. Go and Google pictures of bed sores and you will understand why this is a really important point. Do not ignore it. As soon as you notice any red spots or pressure anywhere, take care of it immediately. So now let's talk about skin infections and irritations. Remember in the beginning I was talking about sweat and how those dark, moist, warm, anaerobic environments are really good for microbes, especially yeast, candida, to grow in. I'm coming full circle now and talking about what happens when candida overgrows, or any other sort of bacteria that love that moist, dark environment grows underneath your corset. You might think that yeast infections can only happen in your private parts or in your mouth, that's called thrush, but really it can happen anywhere. Anywhere that you have skin folding over skin, or those really dark, moist, anaerobic, that means no oxygen, environments. So you might see, and unfortunately, some very morbidly obese people can actually develop yeast infections under their breasts or between the tires, the folds of their skin, anywhere that you have that environment. And unfortunately, if you are not wearing a corset that can breathe very well, or if you're sweating a lot underneath, you can basically create that same environment and encourage some microbes to grow. So what ways can you prevent this? Well, having a corset and liners that breathe do help very much. Also, practicing good hygiene and minimizing your sweating also help. You don't have to be a total germaphobe and use antibacterial soaps or ointments or creams or anything like that. Just normal soap will do. Actually, I generally don't like to use antibacterial soaps, and this is just my opinion, but here is my defense. On your skin, on everybody's skin, there is a barrier, and it's a very balanced ecosystem of microbes. Good bacteria and good yeast outnumber the bad bacteria and the bad yeast. So when you use antibacterial soaps, you're disturbing that balance on your skin. You're wiping out all that good bacteria, and bad bacteria, such as MRSA, that's multiple resistant Staphylococcus aureus. The main point of there is multiple resistance, so it's resistant to these antibacterial soaps that you're using. Those are the ones that survive, and those are the ones that get under your skin and infect you. Also, if you're wiping out all the bacteria on your skin, then your yeast, which is not affected by antibacterial things, you're only affected by antifungal things, will also grow. So if you're trying to get rid of yeast using antibacterial soap, it's not going to work. Just use normal soap, it works fine. I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to my skin when I bought my first corset a little over a year ago. Now, when I started wearing my corset, I wasn't even really corset training at the time, I was just wearing it occasionally. There was one time that I did fall asleep in my corset, and when I woke up, I had a little red mark. I thought maybe it was a pressure point or some little abrasion, and so I didn't worry about it. I put my corset away for a couple days, and then I put it on again just for the day. But I noticed that that little red mark wasn't going away, and when I went to the doctor, by the time I went to the doctor, it had spread out of control. There was a humongous patch right on the front of my torso here and a lot of little red bumps around it. I was freaking out. I thought maybe the corset had picked up some ringworm, either in the factory where it was made or during transit when it was being delivered to me. I had no idea what was going on, so I went to the doctor. It actually turned out being Pityriasis Rosea. And what that is, some people think it's a virus, some people think that it's an autoimmune thing, but really it's characterized by a herald patch with a lot of really little patches around it. It's not contagious, and it only lasted a couple weeks, and then it just went away on its own. So that was an example where I really thought that skin condition was caused by my corseting, when really it was sort of just a coincidental experience. But I just want to let you know that if you ever have any strange things going on with your skin, then you really want to have that checked out by a doctor. Stop corseting until you figure out what is wrong with you. And then once you have the go-ahead and the thumbs up to continue, then that's when you can maintain your corset training. So that's all I have to say for now about corseting and its effect on your skin. If you have any questions, you know what to do. I'll talk to you next time. Bye. It's meant to be used dry, so it can feel like it's burning a little bit in the beginning, but it feels really, really nice. I think I must have been a cat in a previous life because I love me some scratching.